quite honored to have been invited by the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations, and I said it right, and the Shrine of the Black Madonna to join me this evening here in Atlanta to talk about racism and black mental health. And somebody might say, why do we have to talk about racism? And what has that got to do with any kind of mental health or even black mental health? But I say that there is no more important topic than the topic of racism, not just for Atlanta, not just for the area of the world that we call the United States. But racism is a dynamic that impacts the entire world, the known universe as we know it here. And racism is the dominant dynamic on this planet. And if we do not understand racism, I might as well quote Mr. Neely Fuller, who says that if you do not understand racism, meaning white supremacy, then everything else that you think you understand will only confuse you. I'll say that again. If you don't understand racism, meaning white supremacy, and I think Mr. Fuller says what it is and exactly how it works, everything else that you think you understand will only confuse you. And I will follow up by focusing on how we have become accustomed to greeting each other. We have become accustomed to greeting each other within the framework of this dynamic of racism. We as black people, as people of African heritage, we greet each other by saying, hey, what's happening? And I maintain that our biggest problem has been that we really didn't understand. So we say what is happening means we didn't really understand what racism was all about. And I see us moving in this final decade of the 20th century into the 21st century with an increased knowledge and understanding very, very, very specifically of racism. And I do believe that with that understanding, we will be able to answer the question of what's happening and bring into being everything that we have envisioned and everything that our ancestors envisioned. It will be because we take our understanding to that level. Now, I read an article, I try to buy a lot of newspapers, and I picked up the Washington Post on the plane, somebody's old Washington Post for today. And I saw an article, a big article in the religious section of the paper, and it was talking about the United Methodist, the Church of Christ, I believe, and they are going to get into a study of racism. And one of the persons within that denomination was talking in this article about how people try to avoid the discussion of racism, try not to get into it. Or like sometimes people say to me, Dr. Welsing, you're still talking about that racism? Because I've been doing it for what, 20 years, right? But this is good if they will get into it deeply, not just try to get black people and white people to love each other. We've been through that phase. See, it has to be taken to another level where white people will get into a discussion of white supremacy and black people will get into a discussion of white supremacy And if there are white people who are interested in justice, then they will talk about the elimination of white supremacy. And black people will certainly know that it is their business. It is our mission on this planet to bring justice. It's just like the mission of parents is to see that the house is run well and that the children are developed in that house. Well, the great Creator made black people the mothers and fathers of everybody on this planet. And so we have been taken away from that role of authority and leadership. And the planet is in total and complete chaos. Witness what is going on currently. You see, where people are spending multiple billions of dollars trying to create a war, where at the same time they say that there's not enough money for housing. They can't do anything about the problem of homelessness. They can't do anything about the problem of employment or unemployment. They can't do anything about the problem of children having inadequate educational institutions to go to. But multiple billions, I didn't say million, I said billions, to spend on the destruction of life. Now, if we needed any more proof, I don't know what it is, that things are turned completely upside down. And they are everything other than what it is that they are supposed to be. And this is where we hit the stage. As I said, God made us the mothers and fathers of all of the people on the planet, from crystal black to white. And it is our responsibility to see that justice is returned to the entire planet, and that all of the planet's people and children are walking in dignity and are highly, highly, highly developed. And then I guess we can go on out to outer galaxies and make certain everything is going on all right there. But here we are with this very great problem in front of us that many people do not want to look at. But we are going to pull up all of the courage that we have. And we're going to ask the Creator in Africa, please bring to our attention everything that was bestowed upon us. And let us use this very great inheritance and endowment. Use all of these talents to increase our understanding and to correct this problem. So now, what is racism? And I talk the same thing over and over again when I'm talking to black people. Somebody said, well, do you say the same thing to white people? They asked me that today. And I said the exact same thing. And I follow what my father said. He used to say to my father, Daddy, why do you say the same thing over and over again? And he said, repetition has its virtue. And here I am at my age saying the same thing that he said. So we're going to go over this again for people who have heard it before and for people who have not heard it. What is racism? In 1967, I met a gentleman named Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. in the District of Columbia. I was a psychiatrist, having completed training in general psychiatry, and I was doing a fellowship in child psychiatry. And I knew that I had to understand racism if I was going to help black people get well.